He broke every rule, but won every battle. This is why German commanders feared him more than any other American general. The Desert Awakening of Terrible, Terry Allen. March 21st, 1943, Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. The morning sun has barely risen over the jagged ridgelines when the first cracks of German 88 seconds tear through the stillness. Dust from the night's cold wind lifts from the ground in small spirals, drifting across a landscape already scarred by tank tracks and shell bursts. Lieutenant Frank Daly of the U.S. 1st Infantry Division presses himself behind a shattered limestone boulder. His M1 rifle rests across his knees. He hears the distant rumble half-track engines, disciplined, steady, unmistakably German. He swallows hard. Then he hears something else. Boots crunching toward him, a raspy voice, a silhouette stepping through the haze. Major General Terry de la Mesa Allen. No polished helmet, no immaculate uniform. His jacket is dusty, sleeves rolled, binoculars swinging loosely at his chest. He moves with the relaxed confidence of a man who has lived his entire life under fire. "Easy, Lieutenant," Allen mutters, lighting a cigarette with hands that don't shake. "They're probing. They always probe before they break." Daly looks up at him, stunned. "A general? Here?" Allen smirks, reading the expression. "You can't lead men you don't stand beside." He steps past him and climbs onto a small rise, fully exposed, as if enemy snipers were nothing more than an annoyance. Officers nearby flinch, duck, gesture for him to get down. He ignores them. What the Germans don't yet understand is that Terry Allen has been fighting wars since long before this division even existed, and every soldier watching him senses it. Across the valley, Oberstleutnant Friedrich Müller of the 10th Panzer Division studies the American lines through his field glasses. Something feels different this time. These U.S. infantrymen, fresh, untested, beaten back before now fight, with a stubborn ferocity. Müller lowers the glasses. "We are engaging the 1st Division again," he says quietly. His adjutant raises an eyebrow. "The big red one?" Müller nods. "But today, they are changed." He doesn't yet know the name of the general commanding them, but his men will learn it soon enough. The transformation of the U.S. 1st Infantry Division began months earlier. Terry Allen had taken command with a reputation already circulating through American ranks. A brawler, a field soldier, a man who cared nothing for military pomp. He'd been disciplined for fighting, chastised for ignoring regulations, and nearly sidelined more than once for his refusal to behave like a proper officer. But his men loved him, because Allen believed in fighting wars the way wars are truly fought, up close, violent, and unforgiving. When he first arrived in North Africa, he toured the front in a dusty jeep, stopping at every foxhole, every gun pit, every aid station. He didn't speak like a general. He spoke like a fellow soldier. "Dig deeper trenches," he told one squad. "Keep your bar forward," he told another. "Don't bunch up, don't hesitate, and don't let the Germans think they're better than you. They bleed the same." Officers complained he was too informal. Enlisted men would have followed him into hell. As German armor pushes forward at Kasserine, Allen watches the valley with a calm that unnerves even his senior staff. A shell explodes 50 yards away, showering him with dirt. He spits the grit from his mouth. "They think they've got momentum," he mutters. "Good, let 'em come." He signals to a radio man. "Tell the artillery I want every 105 we have ready to fire. When they crest that ridge, drop the hammer." The radio man nods and sprints. Allen turns to the nearby platoon huddled behind rocks. "You boys hold your fire until you can see their belt buckles." The men grin despite their fear. It's impossible not to believe him, not to steady your breathing when he stands beside you as rounds crack past. On the opposite ridge, German officers begin to notice the odd pattern of resistance. American fire is more disciplined. Counterattacks are sharper. Morale is higher. Units fall back only to regroup and strike again. It feels familiar, too familiar. One captain, a veteran of the Eastern Front, senses it first. "These are not the same Americans we fought in February," he growls. "Their commander, he is pushing them differently." Another officer nods uneasily. "Reports say the 1st Division's general fights near the front line, that he does not wear rank, that he moves like a, how do they say, street fighter." The captain snorts. "Who commands them?" A pause. The men call him Terrible Terry Allen. The Germans exchange glances. A commander who fights like a sergeant. A general who refuses to die. A leader whose troops, for the first time, look like real veterans. Müller frowns, realizing the danger. "A general like that," he murmurs, "is worth a division of tanks." Back at the ridge, the German half-tracks begin their advance. Engines roar. Sand kicks up behind them. Allen stands, motionless, watching them roll closer, closer. "Steady," he says to no one. The first vehicle reaches the crest. Allen lowers his binoculars. Now, the valley explodes. Dozens of American 105mm guns unleash hell, turning the leading elements of the 10th Panzer Division into burning metal husks. Infantry scramble for cover as shrapnel rains down. What had looked like a confident German push becomes a slaughter. Daly stares at Allen, stunned. The general simply tosses his cigarette and walks away. For the Germans, this moment marks the beginning of a name they will learn to fear. Terrible, Terry, Allen. The Sicilian Hammer, Allen's rise to enemy legend. July 12th, 1943. Gela Beachhead, Sicily. The night air hangs thick with salt, diesel fumes, and the metallic tang of burning wreckage. Waves crash violently against the shore, illuminated by the intermittent glow of naval gunfire offshore. The 1st Infantry Division has been fighting for nearly 24 hours straight, and still the Germans come armor, infantry, mortars, everything they can throw to break the American foothold. Staff Sergeant Mike Rizzo ducks behind a stack of abandoned ammunition crates as a Panzer IV shell detonates against a sand dune, showering the beach with debris. He grits his teeth. They're not stopping. They're really not stopping. But then he sees someone striding through the chaos with a gait that seems almost casual. The same man the Germans had first encountered in North Africa. The man who walked through artillery barrages like they were summer storms. Major General Terry Allen. He isn't supposed to be here so close to the landing zone, so exposed in the darkness, but rules were never something Allen cared much for. His uniform is soaked, his helmet pushed back, his boots covered in sea foam. He moves between the scattered clusters of infantry like a seasoned sergeant inspecting positions. "You boys hold the line," Allen growls. "This is the big red one. We don't step back unless it's to take a bigger swing." A private nearby shouts over the gunfire, "General, tanks on the left flank." Allen raises his binoculars. Through the darkness, he spots the silhouettes panzers maneuvering through the smoke, preparing to punch a hole straight into the heart of the defensive perimeter. He doesn't hesitate. "Get me the naval fire control officer," he snaps. Rizzo watches in disbelief as Allen kneels in the sand beside a small SCR-284 radio set. Bullets whip past. Mortar rounds burst along the beach. The general's voice remains steady. "Bring it in closer. Closer. I know what I'm saying, closer." A young radio operator gasps. "But sir, that'll land right on top of us." Allen takes the handset. "Son, if we don't drop it on them, they'll roll right over us. Put the rounds where I tell you." There's a pause on the other end of the line. Then a quiet acknowledgement. Moments later, the battleship USS Boise opens fire, its massive 6-inch guns sending shells screaming overhead. Explosions rip into the advancing panzers, engulfing them in flame. The ground trembles under the ferocity of the bombardment. Rizzo stares, jaw slack. Allen stands, brushing the sand from his jacket. "See? Nothing to it." Across Sicily, German commanders begin sending unusual reports up the chain of command. The Americans, specifically the 1st Infantry Division, are fighting differently. Their counterattacks are faster, their discipline tighter, their morale nearly unbreakable. But it's the captured prisoners who reveal the key detail. One German lieutenant, interrogated near Ponte Olivo airfield, describes a commander who confounded their expectations. He moved like an enlisted man. He fought at the front. He did not behave like a general. Our troops called him the battle ghost because he appeared where we least expected. His soldiers followed him without fear. That is why the 1st Division cannot be broken. Another German officer, interviewed weeks later, simply said, "We were told, beware of the general who fights without a general's pride." Terry Allen was being viewed not as a typical American officer, but as a unique battlefield predator. Later that month, near Troina, the fighting reaches a brutal crescendo. It's a maze of stone walls, rugged peaks, and fortified German positions. The Hermann Göring Division has entrenched itself along the high ridges, confident that no American infantry could dislodge them. But Allen studies the maps and terrain with a hunter's instinct. He senses their weakness not in the front, but on the flanks. Before dawn, he personally scouts a narrow goat path with a small reconnaissance party. The climb is steep, silent, treacherous. Loose stones tumble down the slopes. The men pause, listening for German sentries. Allen presses forward, undeterred. When they reach a vantage point overlooking the enemy positions, Allen kneels behind a cluster of boulders. He sees the German lines, machine gun nests, mortar pits, interlocking fire zones, and a hidden gap only a seasoned fighter could detect. "There," he whispers. "We hit them from there." The officers with him exchange glances. The path is dangerous, the ascent nearly suicidal, but Allen only smirks. You want to beat the Germans? You have to outthink them and outdamn-fight them. Hours later, his plan unfolds with violent precision. American troops slam into the weak point on the ridge. German units, caught off guard, scramble to reposition. The Big Red One gains ground, foot by foot, each advance guided by Allen's direct hand. By nightfall, the Germans begin to pull back, not because they lack ammunition or courage, but because they believe they are fighting an opponent who refuses to play by the rules of traditional warfare. A general who leads from the rocks and the dust. A general who vanishes and reappears with uncanny timing. A general who seems impossible to kill. As the Hermann Göring Division retreats eastward, one German officer writes in his field diary, "Allen drives his men like a demon and makes them fight like devils. He has turned the Americans into something new, something dangerous. If he is in command, expect no rest, no mercy, and no line that holds." But Terry Allen's rise is not without controversy. Some American commanders whisper that he is too close to his soldiers, too informal, too willing to bend regulations. But on the battlefield, none of that matters, because to the Germans, he has become something rare, an American general worth fearing. And his legend is only beginning. The controversial lie in Allen's final battles and lasting legacy. October 8th, 1943, Licata, Sicily. Rain sweeps across the battered coastal town, turning the narrow dirt streets into rivers of mud. Supply trucks grind through the sludge, their headlights cutting thin beams through the morning haze. Inside a dimly lit command tent, Major General Terry Allen stands over a large operations map, hands on his hips, his expression somewhere between simmering frustration and disbelief. Colonel Clarence Heiner, his executive officer, clears his throat. "Sir, it's confirmed. They're relieving the 1st Division." Allen looks up slowly, his jaw tightening. "On whose orders?" Heiner hesitates. "General Bradley, approved by the Corps." Allen turns back to the map, his silence carrying more force than anger. Outside, soldiers of the Big Red One move through camp, laughing, cleaning weapons, trading rations, arguing about poker hands, completely unaware that their legendary commander's time with them is ending. For the Germans, Allen's removal will soon be an unexpected relief. For the Americans under him, it will feel like a betrayal. 3 hours earlier, a captured German field report had arrived at headquarters. It described the 1st Infantry Division in blunt, almost grudging terms. Allen's division fights like a pack of wolves. Their discipline is unconventional, their training unorthodox, but their ferocity exceeds what we have seen from any other American unit. It was both praise and ammunition for Allen's critics. Some American commanders saw his style as dangerously unmilitary. He allowed beard stubble. He ignored strict parade ground discipline. He tolerated rowdy behavior as long as the men fought like hell. And fight they did. But now, with Sicily secured, the pressure to professionalize was rising. Bradley and others wanted a different kind of army. Clean lines, clean uniforms, strict protocol. Terry Allen wanted killers, not mannequins. And that philosophy had come at a cost. As word spreads through camp, soldiers begin drifting toward Allen's tent, quietly at first, then steadily. By midday, dozens stand outside in the rain, waiting for their general to emerge. Staff Sergeant Rizzo, still bandaged from Gela, mutters to a corporal. They can take him from command, but who the hell are they going to get to replace him? The corporal shakes his head. There's no replacing a man like that. Inside, Allen sighs deeply, steps outside, and faces the sea of mud-covered faces. These are the men who fought under him in Algeria, in Tunisia, at Kasserine, at Gela, at Troina. Men who would have followed him anywhere. He looks at them not as a general, but as their leader. Listen up, Allen says, voice steady. Command wants the division polished. That's fine. You boys deserve rest, deserve proper uniforms, proper camps, deserve a chance to breathe. A private shouts from the back. Sir, we want you. A ripple of agreement rolls through the crowd. Allen holds up a hand. I didn't train you to follow me, he says quietly. I trained you to win, and you'll keep winning, no matter who's in charge. There's a long silence. Rain drips from helmet rims. Boots sink deeper into the mud. He steps down, grips the shoulders of the nearest two soldiers, and walks through them, head high, never looking back. Though relieved from the big red one, Terry Allen's war is far from over. February 1944. England. Allen arrives to take command of the 104th Infantry Division, the Timberwolves. They are inexperienced, green, untested. Most officers expect months before the division can even dream of combat readiness. Allen gives them weeks. Under his leadership, the Timberwolves transform rapidly. He drills night fighting, aggressive infiltration, fast march discipline, the same unconventional methods that turned the 1st Division into a German nightmare. His new soldiers, like the old ones, quickly learn the truth. Allen doesn't create divisions. He forges them. October 23rd, 1944, near Aachen, Germany. In the shattered ruins of an industrial village outside the city, German infantry hunker down inside concrete bunkers. Artillery thunders behind them as they brace for an American assault they've been warned about. A weary Feldwebel adjusts his helmet, examining the lines of gray smoke drifting across the rubble. His lieutenant approaches. New American unit approaching from the west, he says. Fresh division, not the first. The Feldwebel nods slowly. Who commands them? The officer sucks in a cold breath. Allen. The Feldwebel closes his eyes. Not him. Not again. Within hours, the Timberwolves strike with surgical aggression, silent night raids, rapid encirclements, relentless drive. German officers watching the front lines realize with a chill that this new formation fights exactly like the Big Red One did in Tunisia and Sicily. One captured German NCO later told interrogators, "When you hear Allen is on the field, you prepare to die." By the time the war ends, Terry Allen's reputation has grown into something larger than any award or citation could capture. He is loved by enlisted men, feared by German officers, respected grudgingly by U.S. commanders who once doubted him, and yet history rarely elevates him to the level of Patton, Eisenhower, or Bradley. Why? Because Terry Allen didn't seek glory. He didn't give rousing speeches. He didn't posture for cameras. He didn't care about ceremony or parades. He cared about winning battles and bringing his men home alive. In the end, it is perhaps the greatest compliment of all that German field diaries, interrogation reports, and post-war memoirs speak his name with the same tone they used for only a few Allied commanders. Respect, wariness, fear. Major General Terry de la Mesa Allen, the American general the Germans feared most, because he fought like a soldier, led like a wolf, and never forgot the men who followed him.